Welcome, everyone. I'm Priscilla Cohen, Executive Director of the FAO Schwarz Family Foundation. 8 current fellows and I are going to share an overview of the FAO Schwarz Fellowship Program, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary, and then we'll answer your questions. Please feel free to type in questions in the Q&A as you think of them, and we're recording today's session. So what is the fellowship? It's about preparing you for a career in social impact and social change. Addressing systemic problems means leading the way with systemic solutions. That takes imagination, commitment, and all kinds of leadership skills. The fellowship's goal is to help put you on the path to be able to lead the change. I feel fortunate to have been involved in the creation and launch of the fellowship program 20 years ago and to have led it ever since. It's so rewarding to work with and support the FAO Schwarz Fellows, who are such an interesting and diverse group of individuals. While there's no one kind of college or no one kind of major, fellows share a passion for social justice and for solving complex problems. I'm now going to turn the presentation back to Shraddha.
Thank you, Priscilla. As mentioned, I'm Shraddha, and I'm a second-year fellow at Reading Partners New York, which is a national nonprofit focused on early literacy intervention. Here in the New York region, I'm part of the community engagement team, and my strategic project work involves managing our partnerships with colleges and universities, which are a huge source of our tutors. Our goal this year is to serve 1,400 students in the New York region. So our college and university partnerships are really an important part of being able to do that. My direct service work involves tutoring and one of our partner schools in Brooklyn. But yeah, so what is social impact and why is it important? As I'm sure many of you know, social impact just means social change. So any significant or positive change that solves or addresses a social challenge or injustice. This is something that can be operationalized in a number of meaningful ways and areas, so things like health, education, the arts, and environmental stewardship. Social impact is important because it yields tangible improvements in communities that ultimately contribute to a better quality of life for individuals and society as a whole. So how is the fellowship structured? It is a paid position and a 2-year commitment, where you work at a leading nonprofit host organization in one of 3 cities, so either Boston, New York, or Philadelphia. Both the strategic project and direct service are critical to the fellowship experience. Strategic projects build organization reach, impact, and capacity. They can be tailored to specific org capacities that you might be interested in. Your direct service work is direct engagement with communities that your organization serves. Professional development is another major component of the experience and one of the most valuable. The fellowship fosters opportunities to build skills and learn more about social equity issues, both internally through your organization and with engagement with this multi-dimensional work model, and also throughout the fellowship program. You'll have access to org leaders and learn about different social impact initiatives at diverse host organizations during the retreat, and maybe through relationships with your cohort members. You'll also engage in special workshops and trainings during these retreats, which really help hone particular competencies and facilitate reflection about your own experience. This is combined with ongoing mentoring that is committed to developing your abilities as a leader. After the fellowship, you'll come away with a greater experience and a more interesting skill set or set of relationships than you would typically have after 2 years in an entry-level nonprofit job. Lastly, there's the cohort experience. As a fellow, you have access to current fellows as well as alumni fellows to explore careers and different approaches to solving social problems. It's also helpful for personal questions, whether it's which grad programs to apply to or who to contact at an organization you might be interested in. I'm going to pass it off to Michael.
Thank you, Shraddha. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm a second-year fellow at the Food Trust in Philadelphia. So for my direct service work, I'm part of my organization's Farm to School team, which is a group of educators that go into elementary and middle schools throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey and provide nutrition education. And so I help facilitate youth leadership groups in a couple different schools in Philly around gardening and food justice, working with students to discuss issues that they face in regards to food justice and projects that they come up with on their own around gardening. And for my special project work, I help run communications for the PA Farm to School Network, which is a collaborative of farm to school practitioners across the state of PA. So this involves monthly newsletters, blog posts, as well as running different working groups and different policy initiatives that we have. And so the FAO Fellowship partners with a variety of different nonprofits. If you can look up on the screen here, these are an example of the nonprofits right now that we have fellows in. And so hosts cover a wide range of fields, from environmental justice to educational equity, literacy, arts, food justice, and arts outreach. While these hosts range in size and mission, the work they all do relates to one another and revolve around social impact. All hosts have track records of real impact and strong leadership. So the fellowships are based in 3 cities: Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. There are approximately 6 to 7 new fellows that come on board each year spread across these 3 cities. Because this is a 2-year program, that means that at any given time, there are typically 12 to 14 fellows in total. So in addition to having other fellows in your city, there's also a vast network of alumni fellows within each city. And each fellow is paired with an alumni mentor who's available for any guidance needed. And these mentors are really great resources and just people to connect with, as they also went through the program and kind of know, what you went through, and are great folks to be in touch with. And fellowship host organizations are different from other employers, and they will have different expectations of you. They will assume that you have a strong interest in making a difference in the world, that you are willing to engage in creative problem solving, that you have strong desire to lead projects and initiatives, and most importantly, that you have willingness to learn, grow, and adapt. So as this quote says, fellows are not employees. That's not how we think of them. We have a special commitment to our fellows and to their interests and to their professional development, which is a quote from the former president and CEO of the Food Trust, which is where I'm at now. So now I will throw it on over to Julie.
Hello, my name is Julie. I am originally from Chester County, PA, but I've lived in Philly for 4 years, and I am a current second-year fellow at Audubon Mid-Atlantic, based out of the Discovery Center in East Paramount Park here in Philadelphia. And so just a little bit about like the structure of the work you'll be doing at the with the fellowship. It is a multidimensional experience that includes direct service work with the people and communities served by your organization, as well as a specific strategic project designed to build capacity at the organization. So just for example, for my direct service, I teach lessons on environmental education to students in local elementary schools and take them for field trips, operate after school garden clubs with them, and do extracurricular kind of land stewardship opportunities in general with students and families from those schools. And then for my strategic project, I've been designing and leading, as well as just supporting public and facing environmental education programs at the Discovery Center, and our kind of promotion strategy for that. So moving on. Typically in kind of your early career, you would concentrate on either one of these areas. So you would have something focusing on directly engaging with the public, or something just building internal capacity at your organization. But the fellowship is pretty unique because it allows you to do both at the same time. And so this allows you to build a wide variety of different skills. For example, through direct service in classrooms, I kind of learn that on my feet flexibility to change depending on student and staff needs. And then through my strategic project, I really have gained more of those kind of behind the scenes skills in community engagement and project management and promotion, and kind of navigating collaborative relationships with leadership teams. As far as professional development goes, That is like the third major component of your work at the fellowship. And that's also what makes it stand out and what makes it different from just a typical, entry-level job position. So it not only enhances your professional competencies, but it also helps you excel in the future and ensures that your knowledge and skills are relevant and up to date, and also builds awareness of changing trends and research and approaches in the special impact field. So really being immersed in those best practices. And this professional development through this fellowship is specifically focused on developing your leadership potential. And one of the main ways that we receive this professional development is through the retreats. So the retreats happen 2 times a year and rotate among the 3 cities where the fellows are based. So New York, Boston, and Philadelphia, and they're around 4 days long each. They can include anything from workshops to speakers to site visits, presentations, and guided discussions. And the fellows play a pivotal role in planning these retreats. You're basically entirely tasked, almost just just you and the other fellows in your city with planning and hosting the entire retreat and coordinating all kinds of different things from, accommodations to daily tasks at your host organization. So it's really crucial that the fellows are involved with these so that the program reflects the fellows' needs and interests. And it also gives you a really good opportunity to, have that project management kind of experience. So another really unique thing about the fellowship is it allows you to take on leadership roles within your host organization where you might not have gotten that chance otherwise. So just for example, you can collaborate with other fellows in your city to plan the entire retreat for your city, which is I, along with Michael and another second-year fellow, Emily, had the privilege of doing last spring in Philadelphia. And then for an example of some other leadership opportunities, I've been able to take on some leadership roles both in my direct service and strategic project. So I've been able to connect with one local partner school to manage and host an after-school garden club, and then also was able to pilot a new public program at the Discovery Center itself centered around nature journaling. And so you're able to kind of have a lot of freedom within your organizations, and that allows you to take on more leadership roles than you would typically have the chance to do otherwise. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Alex.
All right. Thank you so much, Julie. So hello, my name is Alex, and I am a second-year fellow at the Museum of the City of New York. For my direct service work, I lead school groups every single day, ages K to 12, through our galleries on guided tours that are focused on New York City's past, present, and then we also try to encourage some thinking about future New York and what we want New York to look like. In my strategic project work, I'm focused on accessibility, trying to find and implement ways to make our school programs and really the entire museum more accessible for disabled visitors. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the fellowship cohort and network. So this fellowship would not be what it is without the cohort experience and the network that is built in. And in fact, that is one of the main reasons that I applied for this specific opportunity. Not only do I have a really strong support system of colleagues at my host nonprofit, I also have Priscilla, the current fellows, my alumni mentor, and a great network of other alumni to reach out to. Leaving college and going into the real world, so to speak, felt really daunting to me, and especially living in today's era in a world still impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, in which many people are working remotely, it can be hard to make deep connections. However, this fellowship really helps to build those connections, allowing you to not only develop professionally, but personally as well. For example, shortly after starting the fellowship, I had dinner with the other current New York City fellows, so Jacob and Shraddha, who are on this call, and as well as some of our recently graduated fellows. And this created a really strong bond between the other fellows, but especially between myself and Jacob and Shraddha. And to this day, we still make an effort to get dinner at least once a week, which is a tradition that we have now invited our newest New York City fellows into, which has just been such a wonderful experience. And being an FAO fellow has given me the incredible opportunity to make friends who are just as passionate about social impact work as I am, which is something I'm forever grateful for. Yeah. And so when I accepted this fellowship position, I knew that I would have a support system, again, not only professionally, but also personally. And I know that this will continue well past my time as an FAO fellow once I enter our alumni network. And so to talk more about our alumni network, I'm going to turn it over to Genevieve.
Hi, everyone. My name is Genevieve, and I'm a first-year fellow at Hudson River Park's River Project in New York City. At Hudson River Park, for my direct service, I'm teaching field trips and drop-in programs about river ecology, fish, oysters, salt marshes, you name it, we've got it. And I get that opportunity as well as being able to mentor high school STEM learners and help develop new curriculum for their program. In my strategic project, I'm able to develop evaluation tools for the park to make sure we're equitable in reaching our target audience and creating fair access to the knowledge about our river. And today I'm going to be sharing a bit about what our fellows do after the fellowship ends. The fellowship is a great opportunity and it can serve as a launch pad for your career. After completing the fellowship, fellows end up in vastly different places, whether it be advancing your career with graduate education or sticking to working in the nonprofit field. Outcomes can vary greatly, but the majority of the fellows have gone on to conduct social impact work. One second. Alrighty, and as far as our numbers go, about 80% of fellows over the last 3 years have been offered permanent roles at their host organizations once completing the fellowship. 62% of our fellows have obtained or are currently pursuing a graduate or professional degree in a wide array of programs, including education, social work, business, law, and art. And at large, about 92% of fellows continue to work in the nonprofit sector or social impact field. These are really great turnouts, but remember that each post fellowship you experience is unique. How you choose to advance your career or education after the fellowship is entirely up to you, and the program is here to help you get there. There is so much value in the 2 year experience, ranging from professional development opportunities, project management, direct service, and leadership skills. The list goes on, and all of these skills are easily transferable to other careers, especially within the nonprofit and social impact sector. They can be easily applied to grad school and many other career fields as well. So there's a lot to gain from this experience as a whole. From new experiences to enhance career opportunities to the possibility of higher education, the fellowship can offer you so much. I want to end by reiterating the point that there's a ton of career diversity among our alumni. Alumni fellows pursue graduate degrees in a variety of fields, including urban education, urban planning, social work, business, law. There is so much they can do, and they're working in a variety of fields. This is a sample list of a few of our alumni. Samantha Perlin, Greg Wright, and Ryan Telgenator have taken up roles in city and state governments. Joe Rosales, Karen Wilbur, and Claire Monk are currently working on issues around educational access. Nick Mitch is working in environmental justice, and Laura Brincat is working currently as a curator of the arts. This is just a handful of our alumni fellows, and those not included on the list have equally a diverse range of post-fellowship careers. With that, I'll pass it off to Delaney.
Hi everyone, my name's Delaney. I graduated from Haverford College in May, and I'm a first-year fellow at the Museum of Science in Boston. At the museums, I have three main roles. I facilitate in-gallery learning activities for museum visitors. I help to organize and lead our internship programs over the summer and our partnership work with Fenway High School. And I teach at the museum's satellite location of Harvard Medical School's Med Science program, where we provide local high schoolers with hands-on experiences in simulated emergency room settings. We actually opened our satellite location today, so I just had my first two groups of classes before this Zoom, which is very exciting. And I'm also excited to share the host organizations for the 2026 to 2028 fellowship cohort. So in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Museum of Art and Audubon Mid-Atlantic will each host one fellow. Audubon Mid-Atlantic returns for a third time as a fellowship host. And at this location, the fellow will focus on education and engaging the community in conservation and the environment. The Philadelphia Museum of Art will host its first fellow in an exciting museum education role. In New York City, the Brooklyn Public Library, which is new to the fellowship this year, will host one fellow, while longtime partner Reading Partners will host two. Both programs will focus on literacy and reading, and they have outstanding records of social impact. In Boston, the Trustees of Reservations, which is also new to the fellowship, will host one fellow focused on environmental education, and 826 Boston, which is a returning host dedicated to inspiring students through writing, will host two fellows. On November 1st, we will publish on our website detailed descriptions of the fellowship roles, including the direct service and strategic project work for each role. Okay, so now I want to review some of the nitty-gritty of the fellowship. So for salaries and benefits, salary is competitive with other fellowships and with early career nonprofit positions and reflects the cost of living in the host cities. In Boston and New York City, where the cost of living is higher, fellows will earn $52,000 in their first year and $58,000 in their second year. In Philadelphia, where the cost of living is lower, fellows will earn slightly different salaries depending on their host organization. So at Audubon Mid-Atlantic, fellows will earn $47,000 in their first year and $53,000 in their second year. While at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, fellows will earn a little over $47,000 in their first year and a little over $48,000 in their second year. Fellows will receive the same benefits as an entry-level employee at each host organization. In addition, fellows will receive professional development and leadership training through the FAO Schwarz Fellowship Program. On the screen right now are the eligibility criteria for the fellowship, which I will also read aloud. So the fellowship is selective. You must be a graduating senior, so that could be anywhere from November 2025 to summer 2026, and you must be graduating from a 4-year accredited college. You must also be a U.S. citizen or legally permitted to work in the United States. You must demonstrate a strong interest in social justice and social equity, and have a strong academic record and a record of leadership on your campus or in your community. I'll now turn the presentation over to Shoshi.
Hi, my name is Shoshana, and I am the other Boston First Year Fellow. I am at Boston Collegiate Charter School, which is a charter school that serves grades 5 through 12 and a very racially diverse population here in Boston. My direct service work is mostly doing high dosage literacy tutoring with high schoolers. And my strategic project is documenting best practices in education through the school, and disseminating that information both internally and externally. So I'm going to go through some of the application components. And so it'll start off with a pretty basic application form. So that's going to be a confirmation of eligibility and basic candidate information. We'll also have you submit your resume detailing education experience and achievements, as well as a few short answer responses, such as why are you interested in being an FAO Schwarz Fellow? Why are you interested in being the FAO Schwarz Fellow with this host organization? What background and experiences would you bring to the direct service and special project work at this organization? And tell us about a meaningful leadership experience you've had. You'll be able to get info about new fellowships and how to apply on our website starting on November 1st. Now, speaking of the timeline, I'll do a quick review of the application timeline. The most important of which is that the deadline is February 1st at 9 p.m. and that's Eastern time. Applications for the next cohort will open on November 1st, and we encourage you to follow us on social media. You'll hear about the experiences of current fellows and some of our alumni fellows. If you signed up for today's session, you're already on our mailing list, so we'll send you an occasional email about the fellowship experience and any important announcements. And we'll have 2 more upcoming info sessions on November 19th and January 13th, as well as 2 Instagram AMAs on January 7th and January 29th with the fellows as well. And we'll send you reminders about these dates. And I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Jacob.
Thanks, Soshi. Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob. I'm a second-year fellow also at Reading Partners New York City here with Shraddha. For my direct service work, I tutor students at a partner school in Brooklyn. And for my strategic project work, I help manage our partnerships with community-based organizations across the city, training them on our curriculum. And I also lead family engagement workshops across the city as well. So thank you for those who've submitted questions already. We're going to take the next 10 minutes for the Q&A. So feel free to drop some more questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we will try to answer as many as we can. We had a question earlier from Juliet about what qualities make an applicant stand out and or what skills you use every day as a fellow. To clarify, you can apply to a specific fellowship role starting November 1st, and that's when you'll also see direct service and strategic project work. So you won't know what that will look like yet. But I'd love if one or two fellows could answer this question.
I can start. I can share a little bit. So for me, in regards to the first part of that question and how I try to stand out, in addition to, of course, focusing on skills and experiences that relate specifically to the host org that you're applying to. So for me, that's, food justice and food access. I made sure to kind of talk about how my other experiences in education kind of provided me with a grounding for my approach to why I'm interested in food justice. So, for example, I talked about how studying Africana studies and comparative American studies provided me with a deeper understanding of, power structures and inequalities and kind of histories of resistance to this in the US and how that is inherently connected to food access and food justice. And so, yeah, definitely don't be afraid to talk about your other passions and other things that you're interested in, how they kind of relate to what the host org that you're applying to. And just talking about how all your other experiences in life kind of led you to where you are now. And I think the cover letter is a really good opportunity to do that, to kind of flesh out your ideas there.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. I could also speak on that question as well. I applied to Reading Partners specifically because I was really passionate about literacy. And I think a big part of my application was talking about why I'm interested in literacy. So I talked about like the 8 years of experience I had as a tutor working with students in under-resourced communities and why that contributed to my passion for education, but also my first generation background. And then I tied in a lot of leadership experiences from college where that could transfer to my strategic project work. So I paid careful attention to what the strategic project work would actually look like, and then talked about how my leadership experiences could transfer to that project. And I think being able to demonstrate that passion for what your organization does is super important as you think about your application.
And
Thank you for that question. Oh, Alex, feel free to pop.
I just wanted to add something onto that. So like I totally concur with what both Michael and Jacob said. But I think when I think about my application, I of course went and found experience that I had that related to my host organization. But I think I also was very upfront about the fact that I wasn't an expert or I didn't have as much experience with what my strategic project focus is, and that is focusing on accessibility in museums. And so I was very upfront about that. But kind of what Jacob was saying, I really tried to demonstrate my passion for that topic, even though I didn't have any experience prior to this. And I think like being able to admit when you don't know something, but still demonstrating like why you care about it. And yeah, I think that is a very important part of the application as well.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, we have a question from Bridget. What undergrad backgrounds do FAO fellows typically come from? Are there common majors that people usually come into the program with?
I can start this one off and then anybody can feel free to jump in. I know Shraddha and I both were sociology majors in undergrad, and had a bit of that social impact leaning in our undergrad work. But I really think it's super dependent. Maybe we could have some other fellows sound off with what they majored in. But the current organization I'm at is really STEM focused, and I had no real STEM education in my undergrad experience. And so I really think it's about where you're interested in and willing to put in that extra work. Would have studying fish biology maybe helped me a little bit, Maybe, but you'll learn at the fellowship. They're really there to teach you and educate you on any of the gaps that you're maybe missing for the work that they do. So it's not so you need the perfect major to align with what you hope to be doing. Obviously, experience helps, but just so many different kinds of experiences could fit for a specific job. I don't think any of the fellows were like the perfect, essentially, you've been doing the work before you started the job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, to go off of that too, I'm a neuroscience major. I'm at the Museum of Science, but a lot of my work focuses on like communication and leadership. So I think if you're able to pull from like different club experience that you have, different volunteer experiences, that can be just as valuable as what your major is and might be even more valuable because the fellowship is all about social impact. It's not necessarily about like different like facts you might know from studying a certain subject in school. So kind of have that holistic view of it as opposed to, oh, I need the perfect major in order to be paired with this organization.
And I'll add on to Delaney right there, which was that I majored in political science and I'm working at a school. I did not major in education. That was not necessary. A lot of my background and experience for my job was a lot of the writing tutoring I did while in undergrad.
Awesome, awesome answers. I'll also add that I'm an econ major working in early education. So again, does not need to be a correlation there. Next question from Aisha. Can you talk a little more about the experience organizing the yearly retreats? And I'm going to pass this to Julie.
Yeah, so uh the retreats happen twice a year, and they rotate between cities. And the process seems daunting because it's like this huge 4-day event that you have to organize and all these things. But this is where Priscilla really comes in, so helpful and gives all of the fellows kind of a huge like she organizes all kinds of planning meetings and sets up all these spreadsheets so that you can know exactly what you have to do at what time of the year to get ready and like whose job is what. And then basically all you have to do is kind of fill in. So the retreats, you know, you have to find accommodation. So for the past couple of years, that's looked like renting 1 or 2 Airbnbs for all of the fellows to stay in together. You have to organize and coordinate where you're going to eat. So you pick out restaurants, places to get takeout from, who's going to pick up groceries, things like that. And you have to, each fellow at their host organization in that city has to coordinate with the other their coworkers to set up some sort of professional development / activity at their host organization when all of the fellows visit you during that day. And that can look like a lot of different ways, but usually just something that'll be beneficial for the fellows and helps them gain a better understanding of what you do in your day-to-day work. And then also a big part of the retreats that is really nice is that you get some unstructured time to explore the city because you might not have been to that city before and bond, have downtime to bond with the other fellows. So it's really nice and it's a lot of work, but it definitely is very well organized by Priscilla, and it's a very, very fun experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. Okay, next question. For students who are not eligible to apply for this fellowship program this year, are there things that we can do to prepare for a future application in FAO and in social work in general?
I can take this one. So I kind of want to go back to what Delaney said before when we were talking about our undergrad majors. What you do outside of your educational background in terms of like hands-on experience with your like in your community is going to be just as, if not more important than what you actually studied. Like for example, I know that Genevieve mentioned I studied sociology. I actually double majored in sociology and had an individualized degree in social biology. But I didn't really talk about any of that during my interview. Most of what I was talking about when I was like speaking to my interviewers was about my experience in the nonprofit space, specifically in youth leadership. I did a lot of that locally in Kentucky. I've been volunteering with Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership since I was 16. I don't know if any of you all have heard of that, but I was a participant in that program at 16, continued volunteering with it, ended up starting a DEIB team for Kentucky's local leadership seminar and doing a lot of other having a lot of other experience with the international program as well. So any hands-on experience that you can get in the nonprofit space, I think is going to be really useful. If anybody else wants to add as well.
Okay, great answer,
Yeah.
Shraddha. Next question from Ricardo. If you're interested in leadership with community engagement, outreach, and volunteer facilitation, would host organizations be willing to align your work with that? I will pass this to Julie.
Yeah, so you do have some flexibility in terms of your work plan. All of the host organizations have to submit work plans for the fellows to the FAO Schwarz Foundation and to leadership at their organization before you even start. So most of your work plan, like your direct service and your special project, is already pretty well fleshed out. But I can't speak to every host organization, but in my experience at Audubon Mid-Atlantic, who is a host organization for this next cohort, my leadership of my organization was very flexible to my interests and my strengths and my goals. And just like you, Ricardo, I find that I am very passionate about and excel in community engagement, outreach, volunteer facilitation, all that kind of thing. And so I think a huge part of my work at the Discovery Center has focused around community engagement, whether that means building out new public programs or finding new ways of reaching new audiences through flyering or social media campaigns. If you feel passionate about something and you think that you're good at it and you think it could advance the organization's mission, I find that there can be some flexibility for you to pursue leadership opportunities in that direction.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. Okay, now 2 more questions and then we're going to close out. But next question is from Ava. Have you found the salary is enough to cover the cost of living in your cities?
I can share. I think it has been for me. I live with roommates, and so that definitely has helped address the cost of housing in New York City, which is a lot, as some of the other New York fellows can attest. But yeah, I have been able to work with it, is my short answer.
I'll agree with that. I'm also living in New York. Live with roommates. I would say like that's probably the best route to go. But it's very doable. Like with any entry-level job, you're gonna have to balance, budgeting and things like that. But that's also a good experience in itself. And I haven't found much trouble with their salaries. So definitely doable. Don't know if anyone else from the other cities want to pop in.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm also living in New York. So of course rent is high, and in full transparency, like I pay $1,200 in rent a month. So, and it's definitely still doable. Like, yeah, I still have money to do things. I think it just takes a little bit of budgeting, but as Jacob just said, that is a skill and an important one at that.
I'll jump on as a Boston fellow, which is you can also find some advantageous situation. So some of the fellows know I'm very lucky and I'm living rent free right now at a friend's house for my first semester here. So that definitely helps. But also I'm living in Somerville, which is slightly outside of Boston, and it's where I plan to continue living come January to help with affordability. Also, as a lot of the Boston fellows know, there are a lot of free things to do around the city. So that definitely helps as well.
And add a little Philly perspective, I would say Philadelphia, just like being to the different host cities, Philadelphia is definitely the most affordable city out of all of the lists. And I don't really feel like our stipend is, I struggle to make ends meet working on it. Like I think it's perfectly doable. And yeah, so that's just like a little perspective from the Philly angle. Like Shoshi said, there's a lot of free things to do in this city as well, especially, during the summer when it's nice out. So yeah, just taking a little bit of time to do a little extra planning and budgeting behind the scenes. But it definitely isn't like a heavy burden or anything.
All right, thank you everyone. And then final question, and if anyone else has a lingering question to throw in the Q&A, feel free. But Aisha asked, what is the interview process like?
I would just give an overview. A couple of people asked these questions. You can apply to more than one fellowship position. you'll see on November 1st a detailed description for the 8 open fellowship positions of the direct service and strategic project work. And you apply through our website. The host organizations are the ones that screen and select candidates as semifinalists for first round interviews in late February and going into March. And then they select finalists for second round interviews and they make their offers in April. And the positions start in the summer. But Jacob, I'll turn it over to you or other fellows to talk about what the interview process felt like from the applicant perspective.
Yeah, I can take this. I interviewed directly with my host organization, with 2 people that I work closely with today, which is really awesome. Everyone was super nice. I think it was a very standard interview, just asking about my experiences, going over things on my resume, and also talking about why I wanted to work with reading partners. So be prepared to answer that question, why you're specifically interested in the host organization that you're applying to, and also ready to speak about the experiences that you're bringing to that role.
Yeah, I had a very similar interview experience to Jacob. Obviously, we interviewed with the same host org, so with the same people. Obviously, still work very closely with them now, and they were very kind. I could tell, from hopping onto the interview. I think that's like, of course, they were evaluating me for the position, but meeting them, it also made me realize that this was, the type of workplace environment that I would actually enjoy being in. So it was good for me in that respect as well.
Okay, that's all the time we have for questions, but thank you all for submitting questions in the Q&A, and we're gonna wrap up now. Thank you once again for attending the FAO Schwarz Fellowship Info session. Don't forget to check us out on social media. On Instagram, we are at FAO Fellows. And if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at the email listed, contact@faoschwarzfellowship.org. We would also greatly appreciate if you fill out a brief survey that is going to come up right now as you leave the webinar. But thank you so much for joining us.